He woke up with a gasp, his heart hammering in his chest. Cold sweat clung to his skin. This wasn't his bed, his room. This wasn't even real. He was trapped, imprisoned within his own nightmare. A voice echoed, cold and sharp, cutting through the silence. Survive, and you win unimaginable riches. Fail and face ultimate oblivion. No escape. That single thought echoed through his mind. A single flickering light illuminated a doorway, beckoning him closer. Hope? Or a cruel trick? He had no choice. With a deep breath, he stepped into the unknown. The doorway opened into a vast cavern, the air thick with a metallic tang. Before him stretched a terrifying sight, a thin, shimmering rope disappearing into the inky blackness. 1,000 meters, the voice whispered, 1,000 meters to freedom. Below, a sea of bubbling, hissing acid, its surface reflecting the flickering light like 1,000 malevolent eyes. One look at the churning acid and he understood. One misstep, one slip, and it was over. Consumed, obliterated, erased. Terror, raw and primal, seized him. He wanted to scream, to run, to do anything but face this impossible challenge. He edged closer to the precipice, his blood turning to ice. 5 minutes, the voice boomed. 5 minutes to cross or face the consequences. 5 minutes! It was insanity. 1,000 meters, a hair-thin tightrope, and the ever-present threat of a gruesome death. Desperation clawed at him, urging him to turn back, to find another way. There was no other way. He glanced down at the bubbling acid, its putrid smell assaulting his nostrils. No, he had to do this. For freedom, for survival, for a chance at life. He took a shuddering breath, forcing himself to look ahead, to focus on the impossible task before him. Section 4, Gloves of Hope, Grip of Despair. On the very edge of the precipice lay a pair of gloves, glowing faintly. The gloves, the voice whispered, they will be your salvation or your downfall. He slipped the gloves on, their cool metallic touch sending a shiver up his arms. Instantly he felt a surge of power, a connection forming between his thoughts and the gloves. These gloves, he realized, held the key to his survival. They promised enhanced speed, agility, balance, but with that power came a terrifying responsibility. He could feel the gloves responding to his fear, amplifying his every tremor, every doubt. They were a double-edged sword, capable of both saving him and pushing him towards his doom. As he stood there, teetering on the edge, he understood that the gloves were more than just tools. They were a test of his will, his courage, and his ability to master his own fears. The gloves pulsed with energy, reflecting his inner turmoil. He knew that to harness their true potential, he would have to confront the darkness within himself. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The gloves would either be his greatest ally or his most formidable adversary. Section 5, one step at a time. He took a step onto the tightrope, the thin metal wire biting into his skin. The wind, non-existent before, whipped at him, threatening to rip him from his precarious perch. He closed his eyes, focusing on his breathing, on the feel of the gloves against his skin. He couldn't afford to panic. Panic meant death. Slowly, tentatively, he started to move. One foot in front of the other, his gaze fixed on a point in the distance. Each step was a victory against the abyss, against the fear that threatened to consume him. He could feel the minutes ticking by, the pressure mounting, with each passing second. The world below seemed to disappear, leaving only the wire and the void. His heartbeat echoed in his ears, a constant reminder of the stakes. He thought of the countless hours of practice, the falls, the failures, and the determination that brought him here. Every muscle in his body screamed for relief, but he pushed on. The end of the wire seemed miles away, but he knew he had to keep going. One step at a time, he told himself, one step at a time. Section 6, Fortune favors the bold. The finish line, a shimmering portal, seemed both impossibly far and tantalizingly close. He pushed himself harder, his body a blur as he raced against time. Every muscle in his body screamed for relief, but he ignored the pain, focusing solely on the goal ahead. The acid below roared, a constant reminder of the price of failure. But he wouldn't fail. He couldn't. The stakes were too high, and the consequences too dire. The bubbling liquid hissed menacingly, but he kept his eyes forward, determined to succeed. A surge of adrenaline, of desperate hope, propelled him forward. With a final heart-stopping lunge, he crossed the threshold, collapsing onto the solid ground beyond. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a testament to his willpower and courage. He had done it. He had survived. The nightmare was over. As he lay there gasping for breath, a single thought echoed in his mind. Fortune, unimaginable fortune, awaited. The journey had been perilous, but the reward was within his grasp. He had earned it. He had stared death in the face and emerged victorious. The trials had tested his limits, but he had proven his mettle. Now the future was his to claim, filled with endless possibilities and boundless opportunities.